You know what's the weirdest demographic of Instagram? The romance demographic. It's like they expect all these people who have love and girlfriends to see the videos. And majority of the time it's the people who don't that get it. I mean, really, it's just pure evil. Hello everyone, my name is Stonsey Boy and welcome back to Reading with Stonsey. Today we are reading chapters 9 and 10, pages 100 to 123, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 123. I got pretty good memory on my belt. So 22 pages, or 23 pages, which is a lot. But don't worry, the next episode ain't going to be any better. The next episode is going to be 22 pages. So yeah, that's going to be a pain in the butt. But at least we get one break in between, and it gives my machine on Minecraft good time to just work on itself and work out and all that good stuff. Well, so without further ado, and just so I don't waste more time than we are going to in this episode, let's begin. Chapter 9. Friends Keep You Sane. This is going to be a good night, I boasted to the watching cow. Not only do I have iron to work with, but I held up a handful of torches. I'm also proof that fire keeps the bad guys away. After setting up 12 torches in the tree closest to the meadow, I waited behind my glass wall in the sun to set, the moon to rise, and for the monsters to make their appearance. And when they did, they walked right through the barrier of my torchlight, anger rising, temples throbbing. I uttered a very loud and very angry and very inappropriate word. Gah, gloated the first zombie, who slouched up to the window. You win this one, I said, holding up 3 iron bars. But I'm just getting started. Now, if you're already a veteran of this world, then you know what kind of weapon can be made with iron. The same one you can also make with stone or just wood, and the same one I couldn't imagine making at any time. I wasn't thinking clearly, okay? There was a lot of reasons for this frustration, hunger, and one that I'll go into later because I wasn't aware of it yet. For now, just know that I wasn't using any noggin the way I should have, and therefore I could have conceived of what an iron version of my axe. Which I didn't craft, by the way, because it would have taken up the only 3 specialist ingots I had. Conserve your resources, I thought. Figure out what you could make, and then only make what you need. The night wore on, and one mob after another marched mockingly past my harmless torch tree. I sorted out the crafting table in front of my glass wall, watching one ghostly item option after another pass me by. The only 2 worth mentioning ended up becoming critical to my survival. Even though I didn't know it at the time, the first one, which would have cost me 2 ingots, it looked kind of like a pair of scissors, but a handle was connected instead of crossed. I think the technical term is shears. The other one, which would have cost me all 3, was nothing more than an iron bucket. That's it? I growled with exasperation. A bucket and shears? That's the best I could do with iron? The night had been a total washout. First the torches, now my supposed iron age. And I had such high hopes, I said, sighing in the moment of deep self-pity. I glanced up at the crafting table and saw a zombie in the meadow burst into flames. The sun's first rays were poking over Disappointment Hill, and from what I know, thought of Disappointment Morning. That's right, I shouted to the grass. Burn! At least my enemies wouldn't live long enough to celebrate any night of failure. Burn, 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 I chanted, and smelled of new, offensive odor, my own breath. I haven't had much of bodily functions in the story so far, because so far I hadn't had any. No poo, no pee, none of the gross but necessary stuff that I used to have back home. I had even let out a musical gas that got so many creative nicknames, which I do not miss, by the way, given that I lived in a stuffy dugout with no ventilation. But now, for some reason, I suddenly had a sour stink of morning breath, although I suspected it didn't have much to do with the morning. My headache I got from last night hadn't gone away either. If anything, it had gotten worse. Chills were also rippling across my back. Even though the room temperature hasn't changed, I realized how weak and listless I felt. Not tired, just lead bones and concrete muscles, but at the time my heart knocked wildly against my chest. Am I starving? I asked, smelling my own breath blow back at me in the window. Is this how it feels? Of course it was, and I knew it, and I lived in the hunger since I'd gotten into this world. But in my heart of hearts, I really never believed it would kill me. Accidents and monsters, immediate in-your-face hazards were real, but slowly wasting away? I don't think I had ever been close to the kind of danger in my old life. Lethal hunger was for other people, other old people reminiscing about wars and depressions, and far-off nameless strangers begging for aid on TV. Now I understood them. My body, like a machine, had run out of fuel, and it was breaking down. How long did it have before the machine broke entirely? More came a distant call from across the meadow, reminding me of what I had to do. The garden, I exclaimed, waving gratefully at the cow. Today's the day, I told myself with each limping step. The shoots have to be ripe. And they were. At least that's what I hoped. Once cultivating squares had grown into tall, golden hanging stalks, heavy with large black mini-cube kernels of, what, wheat? Barley? Rye? Wheat, I thought, and reached out of the beckoning square, and not only came up with a collection of seeds, which I promptly replanted, but also a thick bushel of grain. Lifting the bushel, my hand froze barely inches from my mouth. It's edible, I said, refusing to consider the whole project of the banality. I just need to do something with it. Hopping back to my bunker, I kept uttering, "Don't give up." And when the furnace refused to cook again, I added panic-drowned thought. Gotta combine it with something, I muttered, throwing the bushel into anything else I could do in the crafting table. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, combine. That's what you do here. Combine stuff. And that's what I try to do half the day. Countless combinations of the egg, sugar, even flowers, wood, and dirt. I must have looked crazy, babbling to myself of one failed experiment after another. And by several dozen that I looked up and shouted, "More!" If I had to be the answer. One bushel wasn't enough. Just like multiple wood blocks or cobblestones, I needed more wheat. And limping back outside, praying for the morning had given me more than one square a chance to ripen, I saw that the garden was still green. I began to swear when noticed something had completely slipped by me before. The square I'd harvested hadn't been the first one I'd planted, but rather the closest to the ocean. "Water!" I cried, furious with my own stupidity. "Plants need to grow." And yes, if I didn't been in my right mind, I probably would have done what you're thinking of right now. I would have just dug a trench from the water's edge and let it run right past the rest of my crops. But I didn't. Instead, my scared, starving, screwed up brain devised the worst of all possible plans. The bucket, I rasped, remembering that I could have crafted the night before. Now, using my beachside table, I whipped out 3 iron ingots in a metal pail. A second later, I scooped up a full, brimming load of water, and the second after that, I poured it right into the row of plants. "No!" I screamed, the stationary liquid cube washed out only of the seeds, but all my work, energy, and time out to sea. I dove in after them, snatching the hovering green pebbles from the shallow ledge. Right back where I started," I whispered to the seeds. And then the more mounting torrent of rage erupted. Right back where I started. Blinded by fear, I ran across the beach, punching anything in front of me, sand, dirt, even a solid stone wall of the cliff in a roaring chorus of "right back where I started." And on that last word, I hurled the bucket into the ocean. The act seemed to suck all the anger out of me, replacing it with the clarity of consequences. I watched in horror as my brand new, extremely rare, and possibly useful pail sailed up and out into the blue. "Oh no," I whispered, plunging back into the cold depths. Unlike the seeds, I had thrown the bucket much farther out. I tried swimming underwater, looking in its general direction and seeing nothing but the inky midnight. I splashed to the surface, inhaled deeply, and then crashed dived like a submarine. There it was, in its purple haze of subsurface sunlight. I could just make out a small object hovering in the narrow ledge of the gravel. Just one block over, and I would have been lost forever. I spouted back up to the surface, not only with the bucket, but with the knowledge that tantrums never help. Trying to remain calm and to digest the new lesson, the only thing I could digest, I began replanting the seeds. I scooped up the cube of water I was about to pour it back into the sea, when I suddenly had the idea of drinking it. True, I'd never been thirsty, and true, water alone would starve off malnutrition, but at least a full belly might make me feel a little better. Like when the wheat and so much else before it, my hand and mouth act as passive resistance. I didn't get upset, though, and not just because of the hanging on to sanity by the square fingernails. The idea of drinking was another thin, wobbly, but possibly life-saving train of thought. "Can I drink anything else?" I asked the now empty bucket. In the impeccable timing, I heard a distant murr. "Milk!" Shaking my head, I limped back to the observation table. How did I forget about this? I asked the blotchy, grazing mammal on the other side of the grass. Even if I don't drink milk at home, even as a lactose intolerant, I should have remembered where milk came from. A cow snorted, probably saying, "Took you long enough." I walked outside and circled the animal a few times. "How do you—" I began awkwardly. "I mean, what's the right way to—" Clearly I neither milked a cow or had never seen one in my world. However, the quick, terse "murr" reminded me that the complete complexity of the task in the other world don't apply here. "Right," I said, holding the bucket out to its pinkish udder. "Gee, I'll be gentle as I started explaining, but before the thought ever finished, the pail filled with creamy, frothy liquid. "Thank you," I said, smelling the rich, familiar scent. I drank long and deep, savoring every drop. I waited for my stomach to fill, my wounds to heal, my words melt into a river of dairy bliss. None of that happened. I didn't even feel the liquid in my belly. "I know," I said nervously, milking another pail and blobbing back into my observation room. "I just need to keep going." Feeling the demons rise, panic and frustration, explosive, raging hopelessness, I leapt into the combination of this new ingredient and every other edible mixture I could think of. Milk and egg, wheat, milk and egg, wheat, milk, wheat, sugar. This is that, back and forth. The last chance, I babbled instantly. Last chance, last chance. The chance evaporated, every possible combination failed. "It doesn't," I stammered, staring at what should have been all different kinds of food. "Doesn't make sense." Past lessons came flooding back, about how things make sense have to make sense, and how I shouldn't assume everything I couldn't prove. And that's when I remembered the only proof of any other kind of food, one I'd already eaten, and which was now standing in front of me. My brain switched watch. I wasn't in a tantrum, and not this time. I was hot-tempered now, but rather very, very cold. I looked up at the crafting table into the meadow out in the cat which had turned his back to me. My mouth filled with spit, my stomach with the digestive juices. My body knew what it wanted. Images of steak filled my brain as the axe handle filled my hand. I slouched slowly across the grass, breathing heavily in the cloud of my own foul breath. The cow didn't move, munching on a last meal. Ignorant of my approach, I shuffled closer. It took no notice. Just a few more steps, just a few more seconds, I would be all over. The cow fed peacefully. I raised my axe. Meat, food, life. The cow turned and our eyes met. Moo. I dropped the axe and staggered back. I'm sorry, my friend, I told the gentle beast, because you are my friend, even though I don't deserve you. Heaving sobs cut into every word. You're all I have. And only then did I realize how truly lonely I was. I thought I might not remember my life in the other world, the other people I shared that life with, but I knew that they did exist. Friends, family. Why else would my soul feel as empty as my stomach? Why else had I talked to myself, materials, monsters, and even the sun up above? Was I trying to find isolation that deadly and mind of starvation was my body? Survival, I now understand, meant taking care of them both. That's why I always felt so comforted talking to the animals. No, they wouldn't talk back, but they could feel, they could hurt. They wanted to live just as much as I did, and sharing those basic needs meant I would never be alone. Friends keep you sane, I said, picking up the axe at my feet, and if I'd used this, I'd end up just like the zombie. Moral, I said to the cow, trying to lighten the mood. You're right, I chuckled. I guess I kind of look halfway there already. With my unhealed bruises, my limping stride, and my breath smelling like a garbage pile, I could see that my four-legged pal at that point. But as she was making a joke or trying to get me something I missed. Putting the axe in my belt, my eyes fell to a pouch next to it, the one containing the stacked, stinking piles of collecting zombie flesh. You know something, Moo? I said, not naming the cow. There's one potential food source I haven't tried. Moreau agreed, the part of filet mignon. Just looking at the chunks of meat made me queasy. Hopefully, I said, crafting table in the furnace, I won't have to repeat of the raw chicken. The spoiled flesh didn't cook. The furnace didn't want any more than I did. Moral, insisted the cow, and as I felt the fetid chunk in my nose. What if it was worse than the chicken? Maybe I could wait and... Moral, all right, I snapped, and popped the vile piece of cushion into my mouth. I chewed and gagged and swallowed and gagged the whole lot more. But I almost wish I had. What happened to me wasn't something new, something terrible, and something unique to this world. Call it ravenousness or hyperhunger, as I suddenly wanted to eat the entire world. It felt like my stomach was trying to consume itself, and every cell in the miniature mouth snapping, screaming for food. At the same time, my mouth felt like I just licked the sludge at the bottom of a summertime dumpster. Gah, I gasped, and that's when I spot on zombie impression. I coughed and retched, and I ran in frantic circles, looking for anything else to chase away the taste. I pressed my face into a tree, trying to actually lick the bark. I jumped into the lagoon, trying to force the water between my lips. Moo was trying to throw my taste buds at the lifeline. Milk! I hadn't second help in my failed experiments. I grabbed the bucket, chugged like there was no tomorrow, and suddenly I was fine. Hyper hunger gone. Thanks. I gasped in mood, climbing out of the lagoon, noticing that my ankle suddenly felt a little better. I tried a few more steps and, not entirely healed, the sharp pain hadn't faded, the dull ache. I could deep breath and behold, my bruised ribs felt lighter. This, I asked Moo, holding up another chunk of gourmet meal. This is the answer? Moo gave me an impatient snort, as if to say, don't think about it, just do it. Right, I said, milking her again and holding the bucket ready, just the worse the second time, because now I knew what was coming. Oi, I winced, and bit into a decaying grossity. I chewed, gulped, and chased down the second pail. This time with a hyper hunger barely lasted a second, and when I was done, my wounds were almost healed. Oh, that's better, I breathed, feeling a little bit of my strength return. This doesn't make me a cannibal, right? I asked, imagining a repulsive substance in my stomach. I mean, if zombies just spawn as is, then they wouldn't have to be human, right? Moro, said my bovine buddy, reminded me to be grateful. Yeah, I know, I admitted. At least I won't have to worry about starving. In fact, I think they're saying where I come from. Don't live to eat, just eat to live. I looked up at the setting sun, thinking about tonight's zombies in the whole new way. Thank you, I told Moo, milking her for another pail, not just for this, but for, everything even after I almost did to you. Even if my generous, nurturing, unbelievably awesome pal gave me a third and final gift of friendship that day. Moral, she said, which I knew meant I forgive you. Chapter 10. Nothing clears the mind like sleep. That night my stomach growled along with the undead vermin. Watching them spawn through the safety of the observation bubble, I actually found myself staring hungrily at the roving mobs, impatiently hoping that the dawn would turn them into bits and disgusting mush. Now I'm a scavenger, I thought, clocking every zombie spawn point. Isn't that what they used to call something that survives in dead meat? A vulture, or a hyena, or a maggot? That's me. I thought I remember hearing somewhere that early humans had started out that way, chasing off other scavengers to feed and then picked over carcasses of animals. Maybe it was true, and maybe I was just trying to make myself feel better. At least that was easier to track the ghouls by the glow of the torchlit tree. Maybe it was a total waste after all, I thought, and now realize I thought I was right. As the night wore on, I noticed that no zombies or any mobs for that matter spawned anywhere near the circle of light. They materialized everywhere else, in the forest, by the meadow, by the lagoon, even in the beaches, from what little coastline I could see, but never close to the luminous tree. Can mobs only spawn in darkness? I asked myself, but got an unexpected answer from the black bunker door. Rotted fists were knocking loudly, accompanied by hostile groans. Delivery, I called. walking back down the tunnel and over the beachside exit. Sure enough, a zombie was pounding on the thin wooden door. You just stay there, I said, marveling at how different this moment was from the first time a ghoul had tried to break in. This would be no different than ordering a pizza. I shouldn't have said that last word because it reminded me that real food tasted like pizza, lo mein, chicken tikka masala. I didn't know what the particular preferences were back home, but at the moment they all sounded good. I lost in culinary memory, salivating every dish my species had to offer. I heard the standard high-pitched barks of a burning zombie. Dawn had broken, and the undead assailant was now seconds from death. If that's not ain't ironic, I told the smoldering somnambulist. And here you are trying to eat me. A few seconds later, I was gagging down the decomposing breakfast. Be grateful for what you have, I reminded myself, the gulps of blessed milk, and I got a lot to be grateful for, because by my last swallow, I found my body completely healed. My bruises were gone, my headache faded, and my ankle took its full weight without any complaint. Even my breath smelled sweet and normal again, which was another irony if you think about the putrefaction that I'd been filled with. Be grateful, I said, trying and failing to forget the memories of human cuisine. Cheese enchiladas, french fries and ketchup, blueberry pancakes and maple syrup and a side of bacon. I gotta get some real food, I said, walking over to the garden. No luck there. The new seedlings were merely a mini cube higher than they'd been the day before. Oh, I groaned, wincing at the memory of yesterday's disaster. Where could I be if I hadn't bungled so badly? Breakfast in a bowl of wheat-based cereal instead of mouthfuls of zombios? But don't dwell on your mistakes, I said, forcing myself back into the present. Learn from them. And learn from them I did. Because studying the garden showed me the seeds planted right next to the sea were growing faster than the others. I was right, I thought, excitedly. I was right about water and not about how to use it. Don't put water on the seeds, I said, wishing I would smack my head. Bring it next to them. It was so simple, so easy. Why hadn't I thought of it before? Whipping out my shovel, I dug a trench alongside the seeds. Water came flowing in, but in a bizarre physics of this world didn't fill up all the way. I got out my bucket, scooped up a cube of seawater, and dumped it into the back of the ditch, and learned yet another quirky world rule. If you have 2 cubes of water and you put them 3 blocks apart, the space between them is an entirely new cube of water, and not just temporarily. You can take out that new cube, and the next one after that will give you enough to make a lake. Not just 2 starter cubes can probably take a whole ocean. The point is, in this world, water makes water. Why am I obsessing over a small, odd, boring little factoid? Because later on in the story, that little factoid will end up saving my life. But back to here and now. Watching the trench fill to the top, I remember the tale about the impatient amphibian trying his hand at the gardening, and the spirit of that tale. I bellowed, "Seeds, start growing!" Chuckling at my own wit, and rather quoting someone else's. I still knew I had to wait and try to combining wheat with wheat, and that was assuming again that this was wheat. Patience, I told myself, trying not to think about how many more meals of zombie flesh I'd have to choke down. Patience. Something splashed off to my right. I looked up and saw a squid. You know, I called to the 8-armed sea monster. There's another thing on this island, or rather swimming next to it, is that I haven't tried to eat yet. I was feeling pretty confident by this point. I had my strength and, more important, my hyper healing back. I was jonesing for some new challenges, especially when a reward might be a decent tasting meal. Grabbing my axe, I shouted, "Calamari time!" and jumped into the water. Sensing that what was coming, the squid began to jet away. Yeah, that's right, I called out of it. I used to be afraid of you, remember? My octoprey started up just below the surface, allowing me to take a swing. I stopped to raise my axe and properly sank, silently laughing. Yes, I'm sure I was laughing. Many seafood lungs moved away. "Come back," I called, swimming after it again. "Get back here and get in my furnace." I followed the squid around the southern shore of the island, trying to swim and swing at the same time. In case you haven't realized it, it can't be done. Just like this world wouldn't let me rub my head while patting my stomach, it wouldn't let me do anything while swimming except swim. Finally, it came to this realization about 5 tragically comical minutes, which ended up with the squid jetting into the deep. "Don't say it," I said, floundering ashore into the judgmental maze in the moo. I know I gotta make another boat, which I did, and then I used that boat a whole other group of squid, hacking the water and getting myself all twisted around. I can't blame the rules of this world. Technically, I guess, it's doable. For all I know, I would have done it yourself, but me? I'm just glad nobody was here to see how ridiculous I looked. Well, almost nobody. Merle, called the cow critic from the beach. Yeah, well, why don't you come out here and try it? I called back, realizing a second later that I'd actually been trying to warn me. Looking up, I saw that not only was it getting farther and farther out to sea, but the night was barely minutes away. "Tomorrow," I promised Moo, gliding back into the land. "I'll give it another try." She just snorted back. "No, I will," I insisted, knowing that she was right. Stamping back to the observation table bubble, I realized that the whole idea of boat fishing was over. I need something else, another method, or maybe another entirely indifferent tool. As the sun surrendered to the stars, I tried to think of something to snag a squid. Ideas were hard to come by at night, and found my mind wandering, unable to stay on task. I drifted from memories of the time on the island to observations through the window, to hazy recollection of my past world. They weren't anything specific, just sense memories of my eyes burning, my fingers cramping, my bottom going numb from too much sitting. what did it all mean, and why now? But it was like some kind of fog that settled in my brain. I hadn't been seen building until now. Gotta think, I said, wishing I could rub my temples. That's just when a skeleton clacked out of the woods, giving home how truly loopy I was getting. A bow! I exclaimed, looking down at the arrow in my belt. Why didn't I think of this before? I've been so keen on recovering of one for so long. Why hadn't it slipped my mind until now? Fortunately, the skeleton had shown itself only a minute or so before dawn. Even fortunately, I recovered both its bow and another arrow. Now you see, I boasted a moo, who was breakfasting on 2 sheep. Bah! I called the black sheep, which I had named Flint. All right, thanks. I nodded. Gotta practice. And practice I did, shooting countless times at the same tree. I spent the entire morning becoming reasonably capable archer. I learned how high you can aim the bow and how far back you can pull back the string in the right range. By noon, it felt ready to test my skills on a live target. You guys ready for this? I asked my animal audience. Witness the master at work. As a vote of no confidence, they continued to graze on their backsides to me. Just wait, I said, walking up to the beach. One calamari entree coming right up. I spotted the closest squid in the dozen or so blocks out on the sea. Drew back my bowstring and careful aim. Whip! Whistled the arrow, taking the shadow arc. Ha! I cried as the missile struck its target. Watched as the squid flash red and vanish in a puff of smoke. Turn into a small black organ-looking thing, and then sink right out of sight. I won't tell you the word I shouted, but I'm not proud of it, but I would have won some prize for making one syllable last a good 5 seconds. Frf! Snorted Moo from my back, as if to say, what were you thinking? How would you not have a recovery plan? I don't know, I said. Only now seeing solutions. I should have tied something to the arrow, or found a way to make a net, or even waited till the squid was closer to shore. But why? Why didn't I think of it until now? I started pacing. Idiot, I grunted, wishing this world would let me hit myself. Stupid, stupid idiot. Moore interrupted my stern friend, forcing me to stop and face her. You're right, I said. When looking for solutions, beating yourself up isn't one. Moral, replied the cow, as if to say, that's better. I know I'm not an idiot, I said, calmly raising my hand. But something is wrong with me, like my brain's only working part-time. I started pacing again, more of out of contemplation than anger. It's not like panic or hunger or something new. Well, it's not new, actually. I felt it coming for a while. But now I'm well fed and not scared out of my wits. I can see mental mud for what it is. I could feel anxiety rising, and the last thing I needed right now. Any ideas? I asked the animals. Any hints of what's causing it? Merle, along with the Flint and Cloud, the white sheep that just looked at me. I didn't have any either, I said, checking the setting sun. And that's what really worries me. Plodding back to my underground hideout, I tried to refocus my mind on fishing. I looked down at the pathetic little piece of spider silk in my pack, and just one crafting table told me I couldn't tie it to an arrow. Likewise, I wasn't going to get a net out of the single strand. I needed another length of spider silk. Or I looked up for a crafting table, enough in my wall-sized window, the sheep grazing on the darkened meadow. More wool! That's what those shears are for, I shouted at them. They're for collecting wool. Re-energized by this new theory, I began chanting away with my 5 Ps. Shears meant more iron, which meant more mining, which meant more torches and a pickaxe. Fighting through thickening thoughts, I still managed to plan, prepare, and prioritize until clearly enough to get myself back down into the spiral staircase and looking for more iron. I'm not sure how long it took. I was having trouble keeping track of time. When I found enough iron to smelt into a pair of shears and bring them to my sheep peeps, I might have been a day and a half later. Don't worry, I said nervously, holding the U-shaped cutter next to Flint. This won't hurt. Please don't hurt, I prayed. Snip went the shiny metal blades, and sending 3 blocks of black wool. Yes, sir, 3 blocks full. Bob, responded my unhurt but now very naked friend. Don't worry, I reassured Flint. It'll grow back. Please grow back, I prayed, running the wool back to my observation room. I had been sharp as the shears. Crafting might have been in a few minutes, but ever dimming its stretching process in the early evening. Wool with spider silk, wool with sticks, wool with wool, and by the time I moved on to wool with wood planks, the sun was long gone. I turned it to be a good thing, actually, because placing 3 wool walks upon 3 blanks created a cure for my cloudy brain. It's a bed. Nothing fancy, mind you, but still amazing to look at. The wooden planks was transformed themselves into a 4-legged frame. The black wool somehow became a white sheet, a bread blanket, and a soft white pillow. Placing this new piece of furniture in the bunker, I did something I hadn't done since I'd been waking up in this world. I yawned. I need a rest, I thought. Why didn't I think of this before? Because I need to rest, duh. I still didn't feel physically tired, which was probably why I hadn't given time much thought. I also have been distracted with immediate needs like food and healing. I had not yet killed by monsters, and I never considered my mind need for slumber. Now, climbing to a little bed, resting my head on the pillow, and pulling my covers up to my neck, I gave another long overdue yawn. What's with those memories, I must admit? Just my thought. Cramped fingers, burning eyes, numb bum. They were memories of a sleepless night, but doing what? A job? Homework? A hobby? What had I been doing that kept me up so late? Tomorrow, I yawned, the world faded to black. I'll figure it all out tomorrow, because nothing clears the mind like a good sleep. Oh, man, why do we gotta start talking about sleep? It's just fairly rude. You know, I record these videos at night, and some sleepies sound really nice right now. You know what I mean? Ah, well, I think you don't know what I mean. I mean, I hope it's daytime for y'all and you're not just staying up listening to this audiobook. That would be you should probably get some sleep. That's what I would hope. And also, what I hope to get done today was that today we read pages 100 to 123, chapters 9 to 10 of our book today, which is super good. Yeah. Tomorrow or next time we will be reading pages 124. And don't think I'm about to get a break next episode because today's was long because we're reading 124 to 148. 24 pages. One more than today, but you know. Good news is though, we're not going to be pushed back on the amount of breaks. We're still getting 2. So that's really nice. Oh man. But seriously, these long videos are killing me and my voice. So yeah, it's fun. What's even more fun is that it's time for Reading Corner of the Day. Hugging it up, Stonsey's way, bop. Today we are learning about the Irish Wolfhound. Now, if you're curious about why I said last time that you might recognize this dog helped Captain Jack Sparrow get out of the clank, and also tried to help all those prisoners, but he wasn't feeling as nice. The Irish Wolfhound. It's a very fluffy and always looks old, but I think that's just how it looks. You know, sometimes it just looks really old, and just like how wool dogs always look so moppy. Both very weird looking dogs. But before I can have an opinion on something, I should learn of its history. As learning of its history not only gives me, and you, of course, credibility, it also makes you look smarter in front of your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your painting of a man looking sad and looking annoyed at a piece of paper made by Van Gogh. I mean, in front of everybody. And third of all, it just makes you smart. Intelligence lies in those who know. And, I mean, heck, using it at all. I mean, heck, I can know everything about the Irish Wolfhound, but if I never used it, like I am in this episode, would I truly be smart? No. So make sure to use what you learn in your day-to-day life Now, now that you know that little lesson, you should now know the history of the Irish Wolfhound. The history of the Irish Wolfhound is that dogs of great size are believed to have come from Ireland from Greece by 1500 BC. In Ireland, they became even more imposing, and gifts of the great dogs were made in Rome. The first definite mention of the Irish Wolfhound occurred in Rome in AD 391. The breed gained fame in the imposing stature and the ability in fighting wild animals in arena sports. So it was acclaimed in Ireland that it became a subject of many great legends recounting its valor in battle and chase. Large hounds were once given as coo, a term implying bravery. The Irish name for the breed is coo fowley. Fowl, my bad, fowl. Favored by the Irish chieftains for the hunt, it gained the reputation of an unparalleled hunter of wolves and Irish elk. Illustrations of these dogs from the 17th century looked very similar to modern Irish wolfhounds, and impressive hounds, often 7 at a time, were traditionally of the wolf given a foreign nobility. This practice, along with the extinction of the wolf in Ireland in the 18th century, contributed to the decline of the breed's numbers. By the 19th century, Irish wolfhounds were almost extinct in Ireland, and the famine of the 1845 virtually decimated the breed. In 1869, Captain G.A. Graham determined to resurrect the Irish Wolfhound, a task he set about by crossing a few existing wolfhounds, in particular one named Bran, brought to be the last true wolfhound in Ireland, which such breeds the Scottish Deerhound as well as Great Dane, Borzoi, and even Tibetan Wolf Dog. When first exhibited by the dog show in 1870s, the reborn wolfhound created a sensation. The same reaction it inspires to this day when it's first seen. Its commanding appearance draws many admirers, and its popularity is tempered by the practicalities of keeping such a large dog. As we can see, it's a very large dog. I mean, heck, that woman's able to just have it on her shoulder. What was that? Apologies, everyone. A bug got to my... And there it is again. What? How did you get over there? I just smushed you with my phone. Are there multiple? Where are they coming from? There seems to be bugs. Not everywhere, of course, but just a few. 1 second, everyone, as I take out this bug next. Man, I've never had such an interruption in a video before. You, sir, are dying for your indiscretion. Hope your carcass on my wall that I will clean up after I'm done recording this brings a message to every other one of you bugs to never ruin one of my recordings again. Goodness. I couldn't even tell what bugs those are. We're learning about dogs, not bugs. So rude, so rude. But now that we learned about the pretty rude, actually, history of the Irish Wolfhound, that the Irish let them get extinct, even though a famine, well, you couldn't blame them for a famine. What if you want to own this dog? Keep it for yourself and, just have one. You don't want it to become extinct again, do you? So what is the temperament, Stonesy? Well, the temperament of the Irish Wolfhound is that it's known as a gentle giant. This is an apt description of the soft-natured, easygoing breed. It is calm around the house, sensitive, patient, easygoing, and sweet. Despite its great size, it is good with children, pets, and other dogs. It is friendly with strangers and courageous when the need arises. Oh, and yeah, that's basically it. Wow. Very kind and very gentle dog. That's basically what this is saying. Which, isn't that surprising? It looks very kind and very gentle, so that's good. But what's the upkeep? How do I keep this dog looking so good as it's been portrayed? Well, the upkeep of the Irish Wolfhound enjoys a long walk and a chance to stretch its legs, so it needs daily exercise. At home, it needs a simple, ample room to stretch out on a soft surface, and it should not be required to live in a cramped quarters. It can develop calluses if allowed to lie on hard surfaces too often. Its coat needs to be brushed or combed once or twice weekly, plus occasional slight scissoring to neaten up straggly hairs. Dead hair should be stripped twice a year. Huh, a lot of work, but it's a pretty good dog. Now, for any children listening, please cover your ears. For any teenagers or adults, get your notebooks because we have a lot to talk about for the health of the Irish Wolfhound. Major concerns are gastric torsion and elbow dysplasia. Minor concerns are cardiomyopathy, OCD, osteoarthritis, and CHD. They're occasionally seen with VWD, PRA, and mega esophagus. Their suggested tips are hip, cardiac, Holter monitor. Their lifespan is 5 to 7 years. Wow, really short. And it should be noted that it's sensitive and barbiturate anesthesia prone to tail up injuries. Now for the form and function. What if you didn't see this dog right now? What's its form and what's its function around the house? Well, it's the tallest of the sighthounds. The Irish Wolfhound resembles a rough-coated greyhound, although more powerful build. Great size is especially valued to the breed, and this combination of speed, power, and size enables the Irish Wolfhound to run down and overpower large prey. Despite its size, the breed should be gracefully built, its gait easy and active, its head held proudly, the rough coat, which provides protection against the cold and damp, as well as its opponent's teeth, is especially weary and long over the eyes and under its jaw. Now, for the final segment of today's video, let me give you a nice little rundown. 5 is the best, 4 is better, 3 is average, 2 is worse, 1 is the worst unless it comes to grooming. Probably going to be a problem with the dog. Energy levels out of 1, very non-energetic. Exercise requirements are out of 3, makes sense. Playfulness is out of 1, makes sense. Affection level, friendliness towards dogs, other pets, and strangers are all out of 3, so pretty average. Ease of training's out of 2, so pretty easy. Watchdog abilities out of 3, pretty good. Protection abilities out of 2, I'd probably raise it to a 4 for its size, but whatever. Grooming requirements is out of 3, really high. Cold tolerance is out of 4, really high. And heat tolerance is out of 1, very low. So they can't do the heat very well. Now for the weight. The weight of a healthy male should be at least 120 pounds, and for a female is at least 105. The height of a male should be at least 32 inches, and of a female should be 30 inches. That is one tall dog when you look at it up and down. Oh my goodness, this next dog we're going to be talking about is super cute and super fluffy, and it is the one we'll be talking about in the next episode. I've just realized, now hold on a second. Because I just accidentally skipped the page. 102 to 84. Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 more dogs to talk about before we're fully done with the hound group. And then we'd be going to the next group, which is you think I know already, but I really do not know. because I'll be honest with you, I skipped it on accident for the show, The Working Group. You know, for Huskies and stuff. But yeah, we only have 9 dogs left for the Hound group, which, you know, is not going to be by anytime soon. Just, you know, something to talk about. And the next episode's dog is going to be the one we talk about next episode. So, yeah. Hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. Be polite, be efficient. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's pray for no more bug interruptions. I'll see you guys next time.